She's just a nurse, not combat personnel, Commander Donovan told his SEAL team. Lieutenant Alexis Rivera had been treating minor injuries for 3 weeks, until 3 IEDs exploded and 12 SEALs lay bleeding across the desert sand. Welcome to Hidden Story, where we uncover the extraordinary lives hiding in plain sight. Before we dive into this incredible story of medical heroism and battlefield courage, tell us in the comments, have you ever been underestimated until you proved everyone wrong? And if you believe stories like these deserve to be remembered, hit that subscribe button and help us ensure they're never forgotten. Lieutenant Alexis Rivera was 27 years old, with steady hands that could start an IV in combat conditions, and dark eyes that could assess trauma faster than most emergency room doctors. She had completed her nursing degree with honors from UCLA before enlisting in the Navy, drawn by the promise of serving those who served others. 3 weeks at Forward Operating Base Vanguard had been routine. Commander Marcus Hawk Donovan ran his SEAL team with military precision, and his message about medical personnel had been crystal clear from day one. She's just a nurse, not combat personnel, he had told his 12-man team during Alexis's first briefing. Medical personnel stay in the rear, handle routine issues, don't interfere with combat operations. Alexis had nodded from her position at the back of the briefing room. For 3 weeks she'd heard the same instructions. Treat minor ailments, stay out of the way. Let the real warriors handle the fighting. The mission that morning was supposed to be standard reconnaissance. SEAL Team Bravo would patrol through the mountainous desert region, gather intelligence on enemy movements, and return to base before nightfall. Medical personnel will establish aid station at grid reference Bravo 7, Donovan instructed during the pre-mission briefing. Standard protocols: treat casualties if necessary, coordinate evacuation, maintain communications. Alexis checked her medical kit one final time. 3 weeks of treating dehydration, minor cuts, and upset stomachs hadn't exactly prepared her for what combat medics train for in advanced courses, but she was ready for whatever the mission might bring. The convoy consisted of 3 up-armored Humvees moving through the desert valley. Alexis rode in the trailing vehicle with communications equipment and medical supplies, monitoring radio chatter while scanning the deceptively peaceful landscape through reinforced windows. The improvised explosive devices had been strategically positioned by experienced fighters who understood American convoy tactics. The first IED detonated under the lead vehicle at 0847 hours, lifting the 4-ton armored truck into the air before slamming it back down in a twisted mass of metal and smoke. The second explosion targeted the middle vehicle that swerved to avoid debris from the first blast. The third was command detonated when the convoy came to a complete stop, destroying their communications array and severing contact with base support. Alexis's vehicle avoided the direct explosions, but was thrown sideways by the massive concussive force. When she regained consciousness 30 seconds later, her ears ringing and head pounding from the blast, her first thought wasn't about her own injuries. It was about the 12 SEALs now scattered across what had become a carefully planned kill zone. Medical emergency. Chief Petty Officer Chen's voice crackled through the damaged radio system. Multiple casualties. Urgent surgical intervention required. Through the smoke and swirling desert dust, Alexis could see the devastating scene. The lead vehicle was completely destroyed, its occupants thrown across the sand like broken dolls. The second had rolled twice, leaving passengers with obvious traumatic injuries. The third was burning, with several figures moving weakly near the wreckage. Commander Donovan was crawling toward his wounded operators, blood streaming from a severe head injury that would need immediate attention. "Rivera, we need immediate medical assistance," he called out, using her call sign for the first time. This was the moment when everything Alexis had trained for during 18 months of intensive combat medical courses came together in a span of time that would redefine military battlefield medicine. Alexis grabbed her comprehensive medical kit and her M4 carbine, a weapon she'd qualified expert with but never expected to use simultaneously with life-saving medical procedures, and ran directly toward the casualties without hesitation. The first casualty was Petty Officer Rodriguez, thrown nearly 20 meters from the lead vehicle by the initial blast. His left leg showed compound fractures with severe arterial bleeding, and he was rapidly going into hypovolemic shock from blood loss. Alexis dropped beside him and immediately began her trauma assessment protocol. The arterial bleeding had to be controlled within minutes, or he would bleed out in the desert. "Stay with me, Rodriguez," she said calmly, applying direct pressure to the femoral artery while simultaneously preparing a combat application tourniquet. "You're going to be fine. I need you to focus on my voice." Rodriguez's eyes were glazing with shock. "Doc, how bad is it? Tell me straight." "Bad enough that you're getting a free helicopter ride back to Germany," Alexis replied, while securing the tourniquet with precise technique. "Good enough that you're going to be dancing at your daughter's wedding in 20 years. The tourniquet successfully stopped the bleeding, but Rodriguez had already lost significant blood volume. Alexis quickly established intravenous access and began aggressive fluid resuscitation while visually scanning for her next priority casualty. That's when the enemy small arms fire began. "Incoming rounds! Take cover!" Donovan shouted as automatic weapons fire erupted from concealed positions in the surrounding rocky hills. The ambush had been meticulously planned by experienced insurgents. IEDs to immobilize the convoy, then coordinated small arms fire to systematically eliminate survivors who tried to move in the open terrain. Alexis faced an impossible tactical situation. She had 11 more casualties requiring immediate medical intervention to survive, but treating them meant exposing herself to accurate enemy fire specifically designed to kill anyone attempting movement in the kill zone. She made a decision that would later be studied at every military medical institution in the world. Instead of seeking cover and waiting for the situation to stabilize, she would treat wounded SEALs while simultaneously engaging enemy positions when tactically necessary. The second casualty was Chief Chen, who had been driving the middle vehicle when it rolled. He was conscious but severely disoriented, showing obvious signs of traumatic brain injury and possible internal bleeding from the impact. "Chief, I need you to stay completely still," Alexis commanded while carefully placing a cervical collar around his neck. "You've sustained a significant head injury, and any movement could make it worse." Chen tried to sit up and reach for his weapon. "Doc, we need to establish a defensive perimeter. Enemy contact imminent." "I've got overwatch on the perimeter," Alexis replied, firing controlled 3-round bursts at muzzle flashes visible on the ridgeline. "Your mission right now is to lie still and let me keep you breathing." She quickly stabilized Chen's cervical spine while continuously monitoring his vital signs. The head injury appeared serious but manageable with proper medical intervention. However, internal bleeding from blunt force trauma was the more immediate concern requiring surgical intervention within hours. Enemy fighters were systematically advancing using natural rocky outcroppings for cover, attempting to get within effective range for final assault. The third casualty required Alexis to cross 20 meters of completely open ground under active enemy observation and fire. Petty Officer Williams had sustained massive chest and abdominal trauma from flying shrapnel. He was conscious but in severe shock, losing blood at what appeared to be a fatal rate without immediate intervention. Alexis executed a tactical low crawl across the desert sand, dragging her full medical kit while enemy rounds impacted in the dirt around her position. When she reached Williams, his injuries made her jaw tighten with professional concern, This would challenge even a fully equipped trauma team. "Williams, I need you to talk to me," she said while rapidly preparing for emergency chest tube insertion. "Tell me about your family back home." Williams's breathing was rapid and shallow, classic signs of tension pneumothorax. "Got 2 kids, Doc, 7-year-old Sarah and 9-year-old Michael." "What do they want to be when they grow up?" Alexis asked, performing the life-saving procedure while lying prone with enemy fire passing directly overhead. "Sarah wants to be a doctor like her mom. Michael thinks I'm some kind of superhero." "You are a superhero to them, and you're going to keep being their hero for the next 60 years. The chest tube immediately relieved dangerous pressure, allowing Williams to breathe effectively for the first time since the blast. However, he still had significant abdominal injuries that would require surgical repair within hours to prevent fatal complications. By this time, Commander Donovan had managed to establish a basic defensive perimeter with the remaining able-bodied SEALs, but their tactical situation was rapidly deteriorating. They were effectively surrounded, had limited ammunition reserves, and multiple casualties requiring immediate medical evacuation that wasn't available. "Rivera, medical assessment," Donovan called out while returning fire. Alexis quickly surveyed the casualties she'd already treated and the 8 more requiring immediate attention. In any conventional medical situation, at least 6 would require immediate helicopter evacuation to advanced surgical facilities to have realistic survival chances. "Commander, 12 casualties with varying levels of trauma severity," she reported while applying hemostatic dressings to Williams's abdominal wounds. "3 urgent surgical, 5 priority, 4 delayed, but I can stabilize all of them if you can give me adequate time." "How much time do you need?" Alexis was already moving toward Petty Officer Martinez, who had suffered severe 2nd and 3rd-degree burns when his vehicle caught fire after the explosion. "Give me 18 minutes, she said. "I can buy us 18 minutes of survivability." What happened during the following 18 minutes would be analyzed and discussed in SEAL teams and military medical facilities for decades to come. Alexis moved through the active battlefield with methodical precision and tactical awareness. She would rapidly stabilize one critical casualty, engage enemy positions with accurate suppressive fire from her M4, immediately move to the next casualty requiring intervention, provide life-saving medical treatment, return fire when enemies attempted to advance, and repeat the entire process with mechanical efficiency. Her rifle became as essential a medical tool as her instruments. When enemy fighters tried to advance while she was treating casualties, she would pause procedures just long enough to deliver precise fire that forced them back into cover, then immediately return to medical care. Martinez's burns covered approximately 30% of his body's surface area and required immediate fluid resuscitation and aggressive pain management to prevent shock. While establishing multiple IV lines and administering morphine, Alexis simultaneously directed suppressive fire at enemy positions, attempting to flank their location. "Martinez, stay focused on my voice," she said calmly. "I know the pain is overwhelming right now." Martinez was barely conscious from the combination of burns and smoke inhalation. "Doc, it hurts so bad I can't think." "The pain is going to get much better very quickly, and you're going to heal completely. I've seen burns like this before, full recovery with proper treatment." The 5th casualty was Petty Officer Santos, whose left hand had been traumatically amputated by shrapnel from the blast. Santos was staring at his injury with the kind of shock that could rapidly develop into life-threatening psychological trauma. "Santos, I need you to look directly at me," Alexis commanded while applying a tourniquet with expert technique. "Look at my eyes, not at your hand." "Doc, my hand is gone." "How am I supposed to—" "Your hand is gone, but your life isn't even close to being over. We're going to control this bleeding, get you stabilized, and transport you to surgeons who will fit you with prosthetics that work better than the original. She packed the amputation site with advanced hemostatic agents while enemy fire continued impacting around their defensive position, then established IV access for fluid replacement and pain management. The remaining casualties required Alexis to make rapid tactical decisions that went against conventional medical protocols, but were necessary for survival in active combat conditions. Petty Officer Lee had sustained massive spinal trauma from being thrown during the vehicle rollover. Standard medical protocol absolutely required complete immobilization to prevent further injury, but Lee was currently lying in open terrain where enemy fire could easily reach him. Alexis made the tactical decision to move him, despite the medical risks. "Lee, I'm going to move you to cover," she explained. "You must remain completely still and not try to help me in any way. Let me handle all movement." She carefully dragged Lee to cover while maintaining proper spinal alignment, a procedure requiring both advanced medical knowledge and significant physical strength under combat stress. 18 minutes after the first explosion, Alexis keyed her radio with steady hands. "Commander Donovan, comprehensive medical assessment completed. All 12 casualties have been stabilized for evacuation. No KIA. All injuries are survivable with proper surgical intervention. Radio silence lasted nearly 10 seconds, an eternity in combat time." "Rivera, repeat that transmission exactly." "All 12 casualties are stable and ready for medical evacuation, sir. 0 fatalities." Donovan looked around the battlefield that should have killed at least half his team according to every tactical assessment. 12 SEALs who had been dying 18 minutes earlier were now conscious, stable, and ready for helicopter evacuation. "Rivera, how did you save 12 lives in 18 minutes while under active enemy fire?" Alexis checked her remaining medical supplies and her M4 ammunition count. "Sir, they required medical attention, and I provided it. That's what combat medics do in any operational environment." Medical evacuation helicopters arrived 45 minutes later with full surgical teams. All 12 casualties were successfully evacuated to forward surgical hospitals, where trauma surgeons continued the advanced care Alexis had initiated in the desert under impossible conditions. Every single SEAL survived with full recovery. The comprehensive after-action medical report became required reading at military medical schools worldwide. The tactical analysis was unprecedented in military medicine. One Navy combat medic had performed battlefield trauma surgery that saved 12 lives using techniques not considered possible outside fully equipped hospital operating rooms. 2 weeks later, Lieutenant Alexis Rivera was back at Forward Operating Base Vanguard, officially recovering from her own injuries sustained during the engagement, but unofficially preparing for reassignment to advanced training positions. "What you accomplished out there wasn't just standard medical care," Commander Donovan told her during their official debrief. "That was battlefield trauma surgery performed under conditions that would challenge experienced surgeons in fully equipped hospitals with complete surgical teams." "Commander, those were my patients," Alexis replied simply. "When patients require medical care, you provide it regardless of circumstances. The operational environment doesn't change that fundamental responsibility." 6 months later, Lieutenant Alexis Rivera was promoted to Lieutenant Commander and assigned to establish the Navy's Advanced Combat Medical Training Program. Her innovative techniques became the foundation for modern battlefield medicine, and her integrated combat medical procedures were taught to special operations medics throughout all military branches. The techniques Alexis developed during those 18 minutes became part of standard SEAL medical training protocols. Her approach to simultaneous medical intervention and defensive operations became officially known as the Rivera Protocol throughout special operations medical communities. 18 months later, Lieutenant Commander Alexis Rivera received the Silver Star for gallantry in action. The citations read, "For extraordinary heroism while serving as medical officer with a Navy SEAL element during combat operations against enemy forces." Lieutenant Commander Rivera's exceptional medical expertise, innovative trauma techniques, and unwavering dedication to patient care resulted in the survival of 12 critically wounded personnel under extreme combat conditions. The ceremony was held at the Pentagon, attended by Alexis's family, all 12 SEALs she had saved, and senior military leadership from multiple branches. The moment that mattered most came when each of the 12 SEALs approached her individually after the ceremony. "Doc," Rodriguez said, walking confidently on his advanced prosthetic leg, "my daughter asked me to give you something." He handed Alexis a crayon drawing showing a woman in military uniform holding both a stethoscope and a rifle, with stick figures labeled Daddy's Team standing nearby. At the bottom, in careful 7-year-old handwriting, "Thank you for saving Daddy and his friends." "Rivera," Commander Donovan said during the reception, "when I first met you, I incorrectly believed medical personnel were support staff who stayed behind operational lines. You taught me that medical personnel are warriors who fight death instead of enemy combatants, and sometimes that battle requires the same courage as any combat operation." "Commander, we're all part of the same team," Alexis replied. "We just use different tools to complete the mission successfully." 5 years later, Commander Alexis Rivera was assigned to lead the Department of Defense Special Operations Medical Research Division, where her laboratory became the primary center for developing combat medical techniques that would save lives in future conflicts. "Anyone can learn standard medical procedures through training and practice," she would tell new combat medics during their intensive preparation courses. "The military provides excellent instruction in trauma surgery, emergency medicine, and casualty evacuation protocols. But what no training program can teach is the mindset that absolutely refuses to accept patient death when medical intervention can prevent it." She would pause, studying the faces of students who would soon face their own impossible situations in combat zones around the world. The difference between competent medics and exceptional medics isn't technical knowledge, advanced equipment, or perfect conditions. It's the absolute determination to provide medical care regardless of operational circumstances, and the unshakable certainty that your patients will survive because you refuse to let them die. Her training programs became legendary throughout military medicine for their realism and intensity. Students learned to perform complex surgical procedures while under simulated enemy fire, to make critical triage decisions within seconds, and to integrate combat skills with medical expertise seamlessly. "I didn't save those SEALs because I was the most technically skilled medic in the military," Alexis would conclude her lectures. "I saved them because I refused to accept that their injuries were fatal. When they needed medical care, I provided it. That's what combat medics do, regardless of circumstances. The radio transmission that seemed impossible, all 12 casualties stable and ready for evacuation. 0 fatalities, became legendary throughout the special operations medical community, representing the transformation of certain death into complete survival through medical skill, tactical awareness, and absolute determination. Alexis Rivera had proven that sometimes the most crucial battles are fought not against enemy soldiers, but against death itself. And when the right person with the right training refuses to accept defeat, death loses. She's just a nurse, not combat personnel. Commander Donovan had been completely wrong. Alexis Rivera was absolutely combat personnel. She just fought a different enemy with different weapons. And in 18 minutes under enemy fire in a desert kill zone, she had achieved the most important victory any warrior can accomplish. She had brought everyone home alive. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and share it with others. Help us ensure these tales of medical heroism and battlefield courage reach the people who need to hear them. Thank you for watching Hidden Story. We'll see you in the next story, where another lesson waits to be learned, another truth waits to be revealed, and another reminder awaits that heroes come in many forms. Some carry weapons, others carry medical instruments, but all carry the determination to save lives when it matters most.